Hey guys, welcome back. Another reading. We're going to be continuing from the Loving Parent Guidebook. Again, experimenting with some different camera angles today. So hope you guys are enjoying that. Let's see. That's a little bit better now. Okay, yeah. So we're going now into chapter 8. It's a little bit easier to show you guys the things here. I don't know if it's going to focus with the loving parent. Inviting your loving parent into the driver's seat. Allowing your loving parent to start taking control, or taking the lead, I should say. Because if you're familiar with Inner Family Systems, IFS by Richard Schwartz, you will be aware then that there are different inner family members. So you have the loving parent, the critical parent. I see this. Yeah, I think the sound check. Yeah, school is working. Yeah, so basically, we want to make sure that the inner parent, the inner loving parent, I should say, is in the driver's seat and can mediate all of the different interactions going on with those different family members, inner family members, because we will have like an inner child, a wounded inner child, a wounded inner teen, an angry inner child, an angry inner teen. You can also have multiple different inner children based on the stage of development that you were at, because most of the time when you're experiencing childhood trauma, you will get stuck at that certain point in development, and that can cause like a fracture that will cause a portion of your identity or essence to get stuck in that time frame. And so those are how those interjects develop, that inner family that it discussed in IFS. As well, if you have the interjects coming from your parents who might have been critical, judgmental, controlling, manipulative, abusive, or whatever, neglecting, those also become your interjects because they're repeated messages that you heard over time. And so getting your loving parent in the driver's seat, which is the title of chapter 8 that we're going to be looking at, is really about how to take distance from all of those different inner family member situations, and then to um, begin to plan how we will manage the switching. Because if you're, in this process, which we'll notice is that sometimes the inner child, the wounded inner child, can come in from a certain situation or from a certain. You could experience a situation, and then that could cause and trigger the inner child to come. But then the inner child's expression of vulnerability or being triggered could also cause the angry inner teen to come in with a fight response. So you have multiple layers, right? And getting the inner loving inner parent is about getting a better understanding of how your patterns work, your triggers, which family members come in during different circumstances, their types of reactions, the skills and level of comprehension that they have, their worldviews and beliefs, and so forth like that. So as we begin to come together, work on this process of individuation, reparenting, subconscious mind work, it's about repetition and emotional intensity. And so reparenting is it's a lot of work. But as I always say, I don't think that it's as difficult as most people are making it out to be. When I say most people, I'm really talking about the therapists, or people who are trained within this therapeutic institution. I think, or I perceive, that a lot of the people who are working in these institutions don't have the direct personal experience. And so it's difficult if someone hasn't had the direct experience to help someone else walk through. It's kind of like if we were, I don't know, if we were in Tokyo, for example. I don't live in Tokyo, I don't speak Japanese, and I'm walking down the street and someone asks me for directions to a location, assuming I don't have a phone and no internet, right? Well, I don't speak Japanese, number one, so I cannot communicate with them, and I don't live in Tokyo, so I cannot really direct them on where to go. You know what I'm saying? So this is what it is like when you're someone who needs reparenting and you go to work with a normal therapist. It's like you need cardiac surgery, but the therapist that you're dealing with is like the receptionist at the at the hospital or something. So yeah, the therapist or the receptionist in this example, she knows, that cardiac surgery exists. Maybe, I mean, maybe she's, that's another, that's not the best example, but maybe she knows the doctor or she knows of it, but she's not trained or skilled to work with that. The therapist can only take your name and schedule an appointment. She cannot talk to you about the symptoms even of the cardiac issue that requires you to have the surgery. And the person who is doing the surgery is like the actual help that you need. And it's difficult to find that help, which is again why I created this project, because there are so many therapists who simply don't have the access to this kind of knowledge. um, And to be realistic, the therapy programs, educational programs, they're quite narrow-minded. Of course, you cannot do everything within a year or even 2 years. There are so many things that that is difficult. That's where you should really look for a specialist, a therapist who is really good in a certain area, because their specialty will help you advance more effectively than if you just go to a therapist who says, I'm good at dealing with attachment issues or something, but they don't know about narcissistic relationships and these dynamics. That's not a good example, because if you're an attachment specialist, you would probably know about narcissistic abuse and the effects of that. Um, I'm rambling a lot today, but it's good to get some things off my chest and explain to you why this is so important, and again, why I'm doing this. It really is helpful for me. I was having a little bit of some turbulence today, but luckily I was able to turn myself around quite quickly. And then I thought, yeah, this is a good time to do some more readings, as I did yesterday. So now let's go to the Loving Parent Guidebook, Chapter 8, Inviting Your Inner Loving Parent into the Driver's Seat, the Meditation Prayer. May I be aware when my inner family members take over so I can lovingly reparent them. Whenever you want to connect with your inner family members, first make sure your loving parent is in the driver's seat. You'll know your loving parent is in the driver's seat when you feel any of the following towards your inner family members: compassion, curiosity, calmness, gentleness, openness, acceptance, and patience. When that's the case, let your loving parent tune into the inner family member who needs attention. Nurture, love, and guide them. If another inner family member steps in, follow this chapter's suggestions to invite your loving parent back to lead. You can repeat this process as many times a day as needed, using the reparenting check-in process or by connecting in whatever way works for you. Some of our inner family members might not like the reparenting process or its repetitiveness, which ironically is the key. They might try to tweak it, intellectualize it, or seek new resources, avoid it altogether, or control other inner family members. When we become aware of that, we can invite our loving parent to reparent them. It's the actions coming from love that will heal us. Over time, as you become your own loving parent, you will feel compassion for what your inner child is feeling. You will understand that your inner teen's angry feelings and reactions come from unmet needs and a sense of responsibility to protect the inner child. That's what I was discussing before we started reading. You'll be curious about the needs of all your inner family members, including your critical parent. You'll understand their strategies are often a reenactment of pain and trauma. The needs they're trying to meet will become more obvious to you over time. You might need to draw on the stillness that comes from practicing mindfulness to be able to listen to your inner children. But over time, your connection with them will grow. Speaking to your inner children at first might feel uncomfortable because you have not learned the language. Again, the example of me being in Tokyo trying to give someone directions. Yet trying, even if it sounds or feels awkward at first, can help them relax and trust you more. And here's a quote. At first, workaholism, people-pleasing, and seeking external validations got in the way of regular reparenting. If my inner child felt sad, afraid, or alone, I would often notice, but I would not pay attention. I would not pay attention to him. I believe things like, I don't have time for this. I pay enough attention to myself already. My counselor, my sponsor, and my fellow travelers help me see these behaviors and to make my inner child my priority. The more my critical parent and inner teenager saw that my loving parent could care for the inner child better than they could, the less they intervened. That is such an excellent example of neuroplasticity and why repetition is so important. Today, if I can attend to my inner child immediately, I will still acknowledge him and let him know when I'll have time. Because he now trusts me, that's usually enough for him to relax. And this quote from a fellow traveler. So now we are on a new section entitled Identifying a Takeover, which is what I was experiencing today when I went to the grocery store. Now, this was not like a big takeover, but it actually is what triggered me to sit down and start writing. So I did how did I respond to that? I was feeling overwhelmed and a bit isolated, scared, sad, um, a little bit of hopelessness, some fear, of the future. But those were not feelings that I'm experiencing. Those are feelings that my inner child is experiencing, right? As a result of their previous experiences and worldview. And so the um, the follow-up action, or the actions you take after that, is to take some distance, to kind of calm down, observe the emotions. What are you feeling? Try not to intellectualize it, but accept what you're feeling and try to walk your inner child through that. Reparent them in a loving way and reassure them that those fears are no longer accurate. They're just carryovers from the past. And so let's continue reading on page 89, identifying a takeover. At times, our inner family members can get triggered to the point that we have trouble staying grounded. This is a takeover, and it can happen without realizing it. We might feel overwhelmed emotionally without understanding why. When this happens, we leave our challenge zone and need to pause and regain our center. The suggestions in chapter 4, such as body scan, can support us to do this. At other times, we can be triggered. Uh, at other times, we can be with a triggered inner family member without knowing it, becoming a takeover. We can feel their pain, yet be there for them in a healthy, balanced way, giving them a deeper sense of empathy and understanding. The ones that empathy and understanding that you might have been externally seeking, give that to yourself first, and the external will begin to mirror that for you. Which inner family member has taken over? Another very important question. Being a loving parent involves knowing when inner family members get triggered so we can reparent them before they take over. This awareness takes time to develop. We might think our loving parent is steering when in fact it is it is one of our inner family members. For example, when the critical parent is at the wheel, they try to make the inner children behave to they try to make the children behave to give the right impression to other people. To achieve this, the critical parent might act responsible or critical or so subtle that we don't detect them. Yeah, sometimes it is very subtle. Yet, what is needed is the love, presence, and guidance of our own loving parent who can acknowledge how the inner children feel and address their needs. Check the takeover signs you've experienced before. So, number one, you take on your inner family members' feelings and act out their urges or impulses. Number two, you go into storytelling mode, focusing on what someone else did or said rather than your inner experience. Number three, you over-identify with inner family members' viewpoint or beliefs, exactly as I just explained. Your voice sounds different, as if you're speaking like that inner family member. Number five, you notice you're people-pleasing, feeling guilty for saying no, or engaged in traits from the laundry list or the other flip side. Number six, panic attacks. Number seven, you lose all sense of time. 8, your sense of urgency, unless there is something immediate, unless there is an immediate physical danger. And number 9, it feels like a feeling has been going on forever and that it will never end. These are all signs that let you know that you're in a takeover by one of those parts inside of you. After beginning to identify and experience each inner family member in its earliest chapters, you might now be more able to recognize which one of them has taken charge. Here are some examples. If your inner child takes charge, you're likely to experience feelings such as sadness, shame, fear, worry, disappointment, embarrassment, hurt, fear, and sometimes anger. You might notice physical sensations like heaviness, a racing heart, shakiness, a lump in your throat, or warm. Other signs are slipping into a victim mindset, pouting, manipulating others through guilt, judgment, or acting helpless and wanting to be rescued. The next is if the inner teenager takes control, you might notice feelings of anger, frustration, or resentment, and an urgency to resolve the situation. You might also notice a surge of energy, judgment, and impulsiveness, becoming paralyzed and depressed, wanting to use substances or compulsive behaviors, or wanting to lash out are also signs. Number 3, if the critical parent takes over, If the critical parent takes over, you're likely to notice judgments in a sense of sternness, doubt, or a questioning and undermining tone. Criticism, control, and denying feelings are also other signs. Our inner family members' behavior can affect one another and a chain reaction, also as I explained earlier, which is why our loving parent needs to be the one to reparent. If you feel aversion towards the inner family member you are attending, that means another inner family member has slipped into the driver's seat. For example, feeling annoyed with the inner child's fear would mean the critical parent or inner teenager has taken charge. Mm. These inner family members can't meet the needs of the inner child in any real way or a lasting way today, which is why strengthening access to your loving parent is so important. We might be powerless to take over is happening through consistency, through consistently practicing mindfulness, reparenting, and taking other recovery actions reduces their frequency. When we realize what's happening, we have an opportunity to access our loving parent. As adults working in an ACA program or in the process of reparenting, we are the only person who can reparent our inner family members in a lasting, loving, and healing way. It's common to feel emotional discomfort when more than one of our inner family members comes up at the same time. To reduce any overwhelm you feel in such moments, it can be helpful to picture your inner child sitting in front of your loving parent in a circle or meeting around a table in your internal safe space. You can also let your inner family members know that you are here, that you hear and see them, and that you will be working with them one at a time. Now, there are some reflections from this section. Number one, describe the inner family member that takes over. What do they look like, sound like, and feel like? Number two, how did it feel in your body when the inner family member took over? And where in your body did you feel it? Number three, what was your breathing like? And what emotions rose? Number four, what did this inner family member think? What do they believe? I can't do it. You shouldn't speak up. Why bother? Screw it. Number five, what motivated this inner family member to take over? What were they trying to achieve? And number six, what's one action you can take to bring your inner loving parent into the driver's seat the next time that you sense a takeover? For example, taking a deep breath or doing a body scan, taking a walk or tapping. All of these are different things that can help. Managing takeovers in a loving way. So once they do happen, how do you correctly respond? Here's a quote. My inner teenager and critical parent are not crazy. They have watched me abandon my inner child for years. That's how I learned to cope in childhood from overwhelmed caregivers. As an adult, I was run by a little one until I increased my awareness and made a decision to address my inner life differently. Unfortunately, I still sometimes abandon my inner child whenever I choose consciously or unconsciously not to use my recovery tools. When inner family members take over, you might or might not be able to feel love and compassion for them right away. Take a deep breath and count to 10. Doing so can make space for your loving parent. Remind yourself that this is an inner family member, not all of you, and invite your loving parent to step in. You can get an image of the inner family member in your mind's eye to create more separation, or to find some other way to access the loving parent. With gentleness, just notice what inner family member is showing up. Invite them to take a break now. Let them know that you won't leave. If inner family members seem hesitant to take a break, it can help them ask, what are you so afraid might happen if you were to give me a little space right now? Often they fear you'll ignore them, leave them, or try to get rid of them. They might worry that if they aren't in charge, the inner children will get triggered, or that the inner child's emotions will become overwhelming, resulting in a loss of control. Your inner family members might need you to acknowledge that they've been dismissed and ignored before. Reassure them that you need space to better care for them and that you won't leave them. Invite them to hang out in your inner safe space for a while. In a space while you work with the triggered part of you. Asking the inner family member for space or to take a break is not about getting rid of them. The goal is to have a relationship with them rather than become them. You might experience lightness or a sense of openness when an inner family member gives you space and takes a break. They might acknowledge your request. They might acknowledge your request in your mind, verbally or through images. You might still experience some of the emotions you felt when the inner family member first took over, but it won't be as intense or overwhelming. These steps can help support us during the takeover. When we become aware that our inner loving parent is no longer in the need, we can admit, as we do in step one, that we were powerless of that takeover. Feeling into the physical sensations, feelings, and thoughts can help us understand how any unmanageability is affecting our body, heart, and mind. Doing so makes it more possible to come to believe. Step two, that we can be restored to clarity. In step three, we can make a decision to turn our will and life over to the inner family member that's taken charge, over to the loving care of a power greater than ourselves through reparenting. Our inner family members are used to jumping in and trying to push away or rescue the inner child. Accepting that these inner family members are a direct response to our dysfunctional upbringing increases our compassion for them. We begin to recognize that they aren't that they aren't just going to stop their behaviors overnight. We can even become to expect they will return and learn to welcome the opportunity to nurture them and help them heal. Inner family members need to hear over and over again that we aren't trying to get rid of them. This is especially the case for the critical parent and inner teenager. Their hypervigilance and use of survival mechanisms helped them survive in the past. We can reassure all our inner family members that we won't leave, and then follow through by tending to their feelings and their needs. Our patience and consistency will help them trust our loving parent to lead. Any time in this process, a call to a fellow traveler or a sponsor can help our loving parent return to the driver's seat. We all need help at times accessing our loving parent. When I'm stuck in my inner child, inner teenager, or critical parent, I might need a fellow traveler to help me hear which part has taken over. That's true. I sometimes can't do it alone. Not expressing my thoughts and feelings to myself, or talking with someone else can keep me trapped in shame and isolation. Sharing creates new connections in the brain and helps me feel compassion for the inner family members. It's a quote from a fellow traveler. This is important section, so I will read this last. We each need, this reflection is called Exploring What Nourishes You Spiritually. We each come to find a spiritual connection with a power greater than ourselves that is uniquely ours and that nourishes and sustains us on a reparenting journey. Some of us have found this relationship through art, children, music, animals, meditation, prayer, nature, reading, and many other ways. The Big Red Book states that our actual parent is a higher power of our understanding. Whether this statement is literal or metaphorical, for us, improving our conscious contact with a higher power greater than ourselves can increase our inner family members' trust in our inner loving parent. So just as an end of this section, very helpful reading on understanding when that takeover is coming and how to get your inner loving parent back in the driver's seat, which is something that I just managed to do today. It took a while. It was a bit of a big wave, but it's getting more effective. It works, guys. It works if you work it, as they say. And so I'll just close this section out with the last affirmation. With the support of a higher power, I am freeing myself of childhood reactions. As I nurture my inner family members, I become more stable, peaceful, and secure. Thank you. That's your reading for today. I'll see you guys soon.